Next is according to the depth of scope. Next classification. So as according to the depth of scope, our researches can be classified into exploratory research and descriptive research and explanatory research and so on. First of all, what exactly is the exploratory research? Exploratory research is used for preliminary investigation of a subject that is not yet well understood or sufficiently researched. Always, I just found some research papers or PhD thesis many times, and where the researcher have used the term exploratory research, and the topic of the research is like work-life balance for the teachers, work-life balance for the college, customer satisfaction of the bank employees, customer job satisfaction of bank employee or this employee or that employee. These are the researches, the topic, and the students they classify it as exploratory research. My dear students, this work-life balance is not a subject which is not yet understood or sufficiently researched. It is research, may not be in your context or may not be the context of the organization in which you are doing that study, or job satisfaction or customer satisfaction, or many things are there. So exploratory research can be used only when there is very little, very little or absolutely no information is available about the subject concerned. And in that case, we can go for undertaking this exploratory research. Particularly when it comes to the awarding of PhD thesis, my humble submission is that our students, research scholars, they should not go for undertaking this exploratory research, because if you are undertaking exploratory research, the chances are that that it will be very difficult to convince your board about your findings, and therefore it is advisable not to undertake this exploratory research for your PhD thesis at least, because exploratory research is used for the subject which is not very well understood or which is not very well researched. Okay, for example, we use the term explorer for say Columbus or Vasco da Gama. So Columbus was an explorer. So when he started from Portugal, from Europe, and actually he was trying to find out a sea route from Europe to India, and he has started exploring. And at that time, nothing was known about, in India was known when actually he started, Columbus have started in 1492. So in 1492, about India was known to the European world, but the sea route from Europe to India was not known, absolutely not known. Okay, so far as the documented history is concerned. So that's why the route, that the investigation that Columbus have taken, it is a kind of exploratory research, because the sea route was not at all known for the Europeans from Europe to India. And he started with some assumption, and ultimately we know that he had landed at America, and that's why we know that Columbus discovered America. Okay, and initially he thought that this is in India, and that's why the original inhabitants of America are called by Columbus as the Red Indians. The reason was that. So this is an exploratory study undertaken by Columbus. So exploratory research, that when there is very little information is about the subject matter, and that's why if we are undertaking that kind of research, it is called exploratory research. And it serves to establish a frame of reference and a hypothesis from which an in-depth study can be developed that will enable conclusive results to be generated. Normally, we start a hypothesis in our previous discussion, that is, or whether it is a fundamental research or action research. So we start our study with an hypothesis. We start with an hypothesis and we try to collect data, and later we try to accept that hypothesis or reject that hypothesis. But in case of exploratory research, the end result is the hypothesis. We do not start with a hypothesis, but we concluded our research with a hypothesis, and that hypothesis will be a base for the future researches to move on, to collect data and do whether to prove that hypothesis or disprove that hypothesis. So in case of exploratory research, the end product is hypothesis. My dear student, just keep it in mind that the end product of exploratory research is hypothesis. Okay, from which an in-depth study can be developed, and from this hypothesis some other researcher or you also can start doing an in-depth study. That will be a different study, but the outcome of exploratory research is a hypothesis, because exploratory research is based on the study of little studied phenomena, and it relies less on theory and more on the collection of data to identify patterns that explain these phenomena. Because I already told you that this is about the study of little studied phenomena. Not many things are known about this particular subject matter or phenomena, and that's why it seems not many things are available, not many things are known, and that's why there is no theory related to that particular subject matter, and that's why it relies less on theory and more on the collection of data and trying to see the pattern. Okay, so when exploratory research can be used, when you want to define the problem more precisely, and then you are collecting data, you are collecting evidences and trying to define the problem more precisely. This is actually about exploratory research, to identify relevant course of action, to develop hypotheses, to get additional insight before an approach can be developed, to establish priority for further research, and to isolate key variables and relationships for further examination. So these are the regions, these are the areas where actually we can undertake an exploratory research. Second type of research is the descriptive research. Here, define the characteristics of a particular phenomena, and here the phenomena is not unknown or little known. It is a well-known phenomena. Okay, so here we are trying to define the characteristics, and how these characteristics will be defined without necessarily investigating the cause and that produce it. Okay. Then another mistake that students do while describing or writing their PhD thesis, they think that descriptive research is a research where actually no data is used. It is just describing. This is not true. Descriptive research can be undertaken with the help of data, because how you will be defining the characteristics of a particular problem? You will be using numbers, you will be using frequency, the mean, median, mode, standard deviation. You will be trying to inference. All those statistical tests will be used just to define the characteristics of a phenomena. For example, elections are being conducted in Punjab. Now, if this is a phenomena, now election is not a new thing. Election is a non-phenomena. All those political parties are also non-phenomena. And how actually we will be defining the characteristics of this phenomena? Like, what is the polling percentage in Punjab? Okay, 64% polling have been cast. Then in 64, male, female, SC, ST. Then when the results will be coming, which party have won how many seats? What was the swing of votes? Okay, this much percentage to this particular party, this much percentage to that particular party. Then earlier this particular party have gained and this particular party have lost, swing of votes in favor of this, swing of votes in favor of that party. Then which party is popular among the males, which party is popular among the females, which party is popular among SCs and SCs and STs and minority. So actually we are using data, and we are using the data and we are trying to establish the relationship between all these data to define the characteristics of this phenomena, like Punjab election or UP election. So this is a descriptive research. What is the average age of voters? What is the median age of voters? What is the average income? Which income group have casted for which political party? Which income group, which age group have gone mostly for the voting? All these different classifications we are using, and that actually will be called descriptive research. Okay. Now, if we have to differentiate between this exploratory research and descriptive research, then we can just look it from a different perspective. Like, what is the difference between exploratory and descriptive research? Although we have already explained, and this explanation itself is sufficient to describe the difference between the exploratory and descriptive research. But suppose if we have to describe it in more detail, then let us start with the meaning. Exploratory research means a research conducted for formulating a problem for more clear investigation. It is generally conducted when a little is known about a topic of interest. A little means very little. We do not know anything about this topic of interest, and that's why we undertake this exploratory research. And descriptive research is a research that explore and explain an individual group or situation. And here, this a little is known about a topic of interest is not applicable in case of descriptive research. The topic of interest is already known. Okay, but here, though it is known, but still we are trying to find out the we are trying to describe the phenomena or individual or group or a situation. For example, the example we have taken UP election or Punjab election. Election is not an unknown thing. Election is not an unknown entity. Political parties are not an unknown entity. Everything is known. But still we are trying to find out what we're trying to describe the phenomena. The objective of exploratory research is to provide insights and understanding and develop hypotheses. That is the key, the develop hypothesis. The end product of exploratory research is in the form of hypothesis and some understanding. In case of descriptive study, we already have that understanding and hypothesis, and we collect data to either to prove this hypothesis or disprove this hypothesis. That is to test specific hypothesis, examine the relationship, and describe characteristics and functions. So far as the overall design is concerned, in case of exploratory research, it is flexible, but in case of descriptive research, it is rigid. And why it is flexible in case of exploratory research? Because we do not know anything about the subject. We do not know about the area of interest, topic of interest, and that's why which particular methodology, which particular research design will be applicable, suitable for this particular topic is not known, and that's why there is a flexibility so far as the adoption of research methodology is concerned. But in case of descriptive research, already it is known. So how election will be analyzed, the methodology is fixed, that we have to collect the data, the polling percentage, everything is available. So how it will be done, like exit poll will be conducted, so a specific methodology. And if you just read the document that is released by the different agencies which are conducting this exit poll, so the methodology is very clearly written by all the exit poll agencies, like C Voter is conducting, India News or NDTV or G News. All those different agencies are conducting exit poll just after their elections, and in their exit poll, in that document, that methodology, which methodology or which design they have adopted, that is very well explained. And every time they will be using the same methodology. Today it is in Punjab election, tomorrow it will be in Himachal Pradesh, there will be election, and they will be using the same methodology with little adaptability with the geographical situation and local situation. They will be using that methodology to describe the exit poll mechanism, exit polls in Himachal Pradesh. So the methodology is very much rigid in case of descriptive research, but in case of exploratory research, it is very much flexible. The research process, since it is flexible, so it is unstructured, and in case of descriptive, it is very much structured. Sampling, non-probabilistic sampling, and here it is probabilistic sampling. What is probabilistic sampling? That each and every item in the universe have got the equal chance of being selected. That is probabilistic sampling. For example, just now we have taken the example of this exit polls. So in exit poll, when some agencies are conducting exit poll, and they will be collecting data that from which party you have voted and which party you have not. So here each and every individual who is residing and who is a voter in Punjab or Himachal Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh or India have got the equal chances of being selected in that sample. That is probabilistic sampling. But non-probabilistic sampling, it is not there. Some bias will be there, some convenience, some judgment will be used for selecting a sample because of its unstructured nature and its flexible nature. So non-probabilistic sampling we are using in case of exploratory research. Structural design, no pre-planned design for analysis. There is no design for analysis, but in case of descriptive, there is a pre-planned design for analysis. The findings and results are tentative because it is for the first time. When Columbus have started from Portugal, and he has his plan was that he will be finding a sea route from Portugal or from Europe to India. So and ultimately he found America. But immediate his finding was that he thought that this is an India, and his finding was tentative. This is not conclusive. Later on, many other explorers came and they have proved that this is not India, my dear. The land that you have discovered is actually America or something different. It's not India. And later on, in 1498, 6 years after Columbus, when Vasco da Gama started from Portugal, from the same land, and he landed at the Kerala, one Indian port, and his finding was conclusive. And after that, if someone have doing a study on the same sea route, that will become descriptive study. Once Vasco da Gama have invented, then later on also somebody might have started that their journey, and then they can have that description that okay, after 5 nautical miles this particular island is there. After 10 nautical miles, after 15 nautical miles, here the depth of the sea is this much, the depth of the sea is high or low, these are the animals, these are the whales, or uh, the different animals are these sea animals are there, sharks are available at this particular point. So all those things will be used for describing the sea route from Portugal to India later on. Once the exploratory research is concluded, then it will be the outcome generally followed for further exploratory or conclusive research. The outcome is not final. And as I told you that the outcome of exploratory research is actually in the form of hypothesis. So this hypothesis has to be further exploratory, further investigated, further data need to be collected to prove or disprove this hypothesis. But in case of descriptive research, findings can be used as input for decision making. It is final because this is very conclusive, this is rigid and structured. Then next type of research is actually explanatory research, and this is also called cause and effect relationship. Okay, so why actually particular things are happening and particular things are not happening? So this cause and effect relationship is actually being explained by explanatory research. So it is responsible for establishing cause and effect relationship that allow generalizations to be extended to similar realities. That is actually explanatory research. It is closely related to descriptive research, although it provides additional information about the observed object and its interaction with the environment. Okay. It is similar to this or somehow related to descriptive research, but in case of descriptive research, that cause and effect relation, why this is happening and what is its relation with the other thing, this is not done very conclusively or very meticulously, and that's why this explanatory research is trying to explain all these phenomena. This can be one structure of explanatory research, like this loyalty is subject of joy, or this ambience interaction in design. Suppose this is just a research design, and many of you while writing your PhD thesis or PhD synopsis, you will be writing this kind of framework, that this is the dependent variable and these are the independent variables, these are the intervening variables, and this, forget about this loyalty or ambience, whatever is written, but the structure, if you remember, like while writing your PhD synopsis or the research proposal, you might have used this proposed research framework, that this will be your dependent variables, and this is actually being affected by this and this, and this is actually an intervening variable. So this kind of structure actually is being used in the explanatory research, called cause and effect relationship. This loyalty is being caused by joy, and joy is actually caused by these other variables. And ultimately we have to collect data with respect to ambience, interaction and design, and we have to collect data with respect to loyalty, and how data will be collected with respect to loyalty, how that loyalty can be measured. So we need to develop some scale to measure loyalty, we need to develop some scale to measure joy, and this design and ambience, and ultimately we have to try to find out the relationship between these different variables, and one is affecting another, that is called cause and effect relationship. This is another example. of cause and effect relationship. Uh, am I audible to you all? I think it's